Hello and welcome in this quick start video concerning universal pose splitter for any figure. I mean anything which is rigged. It can be a vehicle, an animal, a creature, even a human being, whatever you want. Select your figure and open universal pose splitter. Here you can define in which folder you want to save the poses that you're going to create. So I create a dragon folder, okay? Just to be organized. This is the classical settings for DAZ human figures, which are not our case of figure. We are going to use the specific settings for any figure, all right? And this changes the interface. And we can set this as the default save bone selection type, okay? We can set this as the default for the next session. Because here we see that we are going to work with lists of bones. And this list of bones will have to be created once, okay? And when they are created, you can reload them anyway. So let's create those lists of bones. For instance, I want to create a list of bones for the wings, both wings, okay? I'm going in the Scene tab and make expand all to be sure that I forget nothing, and I'm looking rapidly for the wings. So here we have the left wing, okay? We are going to make the left wing first, okay? So this is everything concerning the left wing. You see it because it begins by L wing. So there is approximately no doubts. You go in the content library and you make save scene selection as text list, okay? So I have already a few lists for the dragons. I'm gonna call this dragon left wing. All right, I close my interface. And now back to my scene tab. I'm gonna select the right, come on, it must be above, the right wing. All right, it begins there, it ends there. And I open the pose splitter and make save things selection as a text list, and I have my right wing. You see, and this way you can create as many lists as you want. Now that you created a few lists, you simply have to load a list, okay, to to define that these are the bones which are going to be saved. So you are going to save the bones of the left, the right wing, okay? We are going also to save the bones of the left wing, and we have both wings. That's not more complicated than that. And these bones and only these bones will be saved, and for these bones, these properties will be saved. You can also choose which pose controls you want to save. So in our case, if we want to save the wings, we are not going to save the feet spot and the foot pose control, okay? But we might want to save the wings pose control. So what you can do to save time for the next sessions where you would like to save the same thing is save current list as a list, meaning that you have cumulated two lists, the one for the right wing and the one for the left wing, and you are going to say that this is a new list. So you are going to call this dragon both wings, okay? And we can save root settings and pose control as default, okay? And now we will have everything concerning our wings, either as default or which can be reloaded later on. For instance, here I have nothing, okay? And I load the one that I just created. And this way I know that if I want to save both wings, I just have to load this. One important thing which is also presented in the video for human figure is that you can save and reload a full configuration, okay? So here, if I make save and reload, I have the button save whole configuration. It will save absolutely everything of the interface. I mean, everything you can have in the interface, and you can choose to reload what you want. The output path, the bond selection type, the root properties, the bond selections, the bonds properties, the frames properties, the batch options, the batch input file list, the additional options for the smart content, and so on. Okay, so we are going to save a whole configuration files that we are going to call Dragon Wings, for instance. And I'm gonna close my interface, okay? And if I open the interface, I can reload this configuration. Dragon Wings, where is it now? Modified, okay, Dragon Wings. Okay, and everything comes back. The wings are checked, and the list is the good one. I mean, you have nothing else to do. You save a huge amount of time this way. Okay, so let's save our first pose, and we are going to call this pose 1. It saves, so sorry, it saves the partial pose and calculates the sum. This is why it's a bit long. And then let's do that for a second pose, for instance. So smart content. What do we have? Something pretty different. Maybe this one. All right. And then we go in the content library, and you see that you have lost your configuration. So let's reload the configuration. Dragon Wings. All right. And we have the Dragon Wings. Let's save this as pose 2. And we could do this way, a third one, a fourth one. Then this is why batch several files have been created. It's in order to avoid you to do all this all the time. And I don't know, maybe this one. Okay, and go in the content library, universal pose splitter. Reload your configuration. It's in order to show you the principle. Let's go for Dragon Wings. Okay, and score this. This goes very fast, much faster than selecting all the bonds and so on. Okay, you can reload immediately the configuration. Let's save pose with current options. Okay, and let's say that you want to save something else. You don't want to save the wings, but you want to save the head and the tail, for instance. You go there, so you don't want to save the wings, you want to save the tail and the head, so there must be the neck, okay? We are going to load a list of bones, so let's load tail bones. Okay, we want the head and the tail. We want to add to this the jaw and tongue. And we are going to add to this the head and neck. Okay? And this way you create it. You know, a list is not long, finally. Okay? It goes very fast. And so we have our pose controls. Okay? We can check if we have... we can check if we have more groups in the pose controls. So I click on more groups. Okay, and it gives me access to the other pose control groups that I would like to have. And I simply have to delete the one that I don't want. So I don't want the wings, okay. I may want to keep the mouth, the tail. I don't want the feet one, the hands. I'm gonna keep the neck one. Oh, just take care that you have to select after the semi-comma, after the punctuation. So we have the tail, we have the neck, head, mouth, leaves, head, eyes. Okay. And we can also export these groups. So exported groups, Dragon's Bones lists. Let's call this maybe pose controls, head and tail. Pose controls, okay, for the dragon, so that if I want to, I can reload it later. I'm gonna save a full configuration, okay, up, dragon head and tail. This way I can reload it each time that I change this. It can go very fast. Here, this interface that you have here is the most complex that you can have with this script. You can't have more complex than this, but as you see, it goes pretty easy. And in general, you don't have to save the pose control if the pose set has been made properly. Okay, so let's call this browse to another folder, rather head and tail. Let's call this pose 1. Okay, save pose with current options. And now we may want to we may want to use another pose. So the first one I think was this one. Okay, launch, reload the configuration. This one. So we check that we have the right list, we have the right thing checked, the right properties checked, and we have the right list here. That it's normal because you reload just the same configuration. And here you just have to click on pose 2. Right, pose 2, sorry, save pose with current options. And maybe we can try last pose, I don't know, maybe this one, I don't know, it's just for the demo, okay? Just to see the principle. Okay, you just reload the configuration for head and tail. And pose 3, just even don't check. And that's done. Now we can have a look at what's been created, but I'll show you afterwards how to batch this, because one after the other it can be painful, but that's the principle which matters. So split poses dragon, head and tail. So you see only the head and the tail moves. These are not very different poses, but you can see that only the head and tail moves. And here I have several wings which were backed up. So this way you can say I like the pose of these wings, but I'd like another head and tail. And this way you can build very easily different poses. Okay, that's the principle. Now let's see how to batch all this in order to avoid the steps where you load the pose, then you process, then you load the pose, then you process. Okay. Now let's have a look at how to batch all this. So come back to Universal Pose Splitter, open it. You see here batch several files. You have several selection modes. You can add files from a browse window. You can add several files from there. You can select a folder and then it will search for all the files in all the subfolders. But take care, it can take extremely long to be processed if there is a lot of subfolders. So this is not recommended options unless you know that you don't have tons of subfolders to be analyzed. Okay, you can do the same, but with the restriction there must be a /pose in the path. Okay, once you have created a list, you can export it so that you can import it afterwards. And when you import it, the files that you import will add to the existing files. Let's have a look at this. So we don't know where the dragon poses are. Let's go in the smart content. Let's make a browse to file location. Okay, let's copy the path. Right, open the interface and say that we want to add a list of files. Okay, so we were at the right place because, okay, this was not, this was already done. But okay, let's say that I want to process those files. I'm not forced to process everything. Okay, I'm going to export my list. Okay, dragon poses set 1. Limited because I don't use lim. I don't use everything. Okay, now I want to say that I want to save this, so I browse to file location, I copy the path, and then in the universal pose splitter. I do the same. I add the list of files. I passed the path, and there are not a lot of files, so I'm gonna select them all. All right. So they are all there. And I'm going to import an exported list, the previous one, you see, the cinematic one, and they will add to the existing list, okay? If you had a third list, you could export and then re-import. You can also re-import them from the configuration files, because you can re-import the batch input file list. You have several ways to import your file list. So now you see that the bounds have not been defined. So I'm going to reload the configuration, but I absolutely don't want to reload the batch input file list, okay? No, it should not remove what exists, but I prefer uncheck this. I'm going to reload the configuration Dragon Wings. Okay. I think it doesn't erase the existing list. I think it automatically adds to the existing list. But to be safe, I uncheck this. So here we have all we need to save only wings. Okay. And well, I say this is done. You could process, but I want to show you the additional options. You can work on the input lists, meaning remove a few poses. You don't want these poses, okay? So you select them and you make remove selected input files from input list, and they are removed. Okay. There is also an option to remove input files without /pose in their path. Okay, here we have none, so this is not the case. You always know how many files you have to process. It's written here. Each time it's recalculated. You have two options for the output files. Either you use only the destination folder and the initial file name to name them. Okay, and you see you obtain this. Or you can use the full content folder subpath to file, okay? So if you choose this option, if you want this to be displayed here, you have to click on Update Output List, okay? And you see the hierarchy, animal, Jazz Dragon 3, poses, and the names of the poses. So I prefer, in general, the short version, but the long version, make sure that there won't be files of the same name, overwriting each other. What's next? You can add a suffix. So here for the content, I want to say that this is wings. Okay, so I write the suffix wings and I click on update. So now the name is followed, all the names are followed by wings. All right. And finally, if I want something written in the smart content, okay, I can keep set type, category, and compatibility. It will be made compatible with Dragon 4. It will be saved under the category poses. Poses by region, partial body. And if you want, you can add a subcategory. Okay. So let's call this wings. List of classical subcategory wings with yeah, this way. Okay. Here you can see the list of the most classical subcategories used in the studio. So I am going to use wings. If you choose set type only, you won't have anything written in the smart data. Okay, and when this is done, you can click. Oh no. You have the choice to reuse the original pose thumb of the pose that you load, which allow you to have better looking thumbs than the one just calculated. And you can do process files with current settings. I'm going to process less of them because we are okay. Let's process only a few of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 4. Okay, and let's process them. I'm gonna make a shorter window so that we see what happens. let's process them. So each time you process, the pose is applied, okay? And, okay, that's done. Oh, the pose is applied and partially saved. So let's have a look now. We are in split poses Dragon Batch Wings. Content library, sorry. Split poses Dragon Batch Wings. And we have our poses only for the wings with the original thumbs. And now if we go in the smart content, the poses in the smart content, by region, partial body, and here you see that you have the wings category, okay? And this has been especially created for us thanks to what we did. Here we have the filter by context, proving that these poses are seen as compatible with Dragon 3. It would be the same if you save a current pose, okay? Here we have batched, but if you save this as a single pose, it also works if you set the wings category. And so let's try a few. I tried the same, of course. So you see it works perfectly, and this way you can create. We could have batched 20 or 30 files. I don't know how many files we had. We could have all processed them, and you would have plenty of wings poses, and then you could have created plenty of head poses, of tails poses, and this very easily, because the only thing you would have had to do, is that I haven't saved. Okay, let's import this list, okay? The only thing that you would have had to do is to reload the configuration, okay? And with the dragon head and tail, for instance, okay? And you could be able to batch the list for the head and tail, okay? Very easily. Because you have the files, and you have the bonds to be saved, and you have the post control to be saved. That's all. You just have to reload, and you create as many as you want. And if you don't want the head and tail, you can just, for instance, remove this, and let's say what you can load. We could load jaw and tongue, okay, and we could save only the jaw and tongue, and we just would have to maybe set another suffix, okay, jaw, and set jaw as subcategory. It would be created if we set jaw as subcategory, okay, and click on process files with current settings. You know, it goes very fast. You just have to reload your list and process the list of batch process files. And this is very easy, and this goes very fast. Well, thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, you can watch these videos, of course. You can open the documentation. Of course, it's open on my other screen, directly from the interface. You can also contact me on DAS forums, either via private mails or using the commercial thread on the commercial forum dedicated to this project. Well, bye-bye, and have fun creating tons of new poses.